Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 21 of the Pondcast. We're excited to have you here with us. We're excited about the show we have here tonight. I'm here with my partner, Steve Enders, the man, the myth, the legend. Say hi to him, Steve. He still hasn't said anything yet. And as you see, we have our friend, is that Calvin or Hobbs in the background?
That's Hobbs.
Hobbs. So there's Hobbs. So John isn't here with us tonight, but you'll see you have a great lineup of three studs here to make up for the fact that John's not here. In my opinion, Hobbs definitely brings a lot more to the table than John does anyway. So
At least in the looks department.
yeah, definitely. They're both gingers, though. That's what's interesting about it. They have the exact same hair color. Definitely. Yeah. And they both have the same physique, except John doesn't have a tail. So
well, yeah, but they're long and slender and hairy.
Yeah, and no gluteus maximus at all. Just no.
Right.
Yeah, just a tail, but in John's case, no tail. Anyway, let's get into it here. We wanted to talk about a story when we started off tonight. You had the story pulled up. Basically, this was all over Facebook, all over social media, and it kind of upset me a little bit. But reptiles, that's actually as strong a stance as you'll see reptiles take. So I thought that was interesting, and then you could see down in the photo. It makes me want to cry. A zoo tried to keep a Malagasy tree boa with a radiated tortoise, and the results were not that great. If you watch the video, though, it's kind of like, I don't know, kind of boggles the mind a little bit why they would keep them and in that type of environment and so close together. To me, it looked like they were just keeping them between enclosures. Like while they were cleaning the enclosure, they just threw them in this little thing. But that was the thing that was most disturbing to me, is that here's two large animals in a pretty small space. So, I mean, Steve, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
In my opinion, that might be the biggest reason it didn't work. Granted, we're probably only getting a small snapshot at a habitat in this picture.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were prepping for this topic tonight, this one particular map says the Malagasy tree boa can occur down here on the southern tip of the island. And if you'll notice, radiated tortoises here in pink can also occur on the southern tip of the island. So it is possible that their habitat does overlap in the wild, which may be why they tried to put them together in the first place. A lot of zoos are going this route lately, trying to do mixed species exhibits of species that would share space in the wild. And it's got some good points to it. For one, it can be a space saver to especially if your habitat is big enough, you can exhibit more than one species in the same area and not have to worry as much about cross-contamination because they're native to the same areas as well. So there are pros, there are cons. Sometimes it's worth a shot, and sometimes maybe it isn't. I'm not going to necessarily make a stand here and say, hey, they should have never tried this. But clearly it's something you can learn from and say, okay, we won't try this one again.
I think it's one of those things too. You don't necessarily know, if you don't know necessarily when all right, I'm a social worker and I run a program, a day program where people can go during the day. It's like a community center, and you don't know when the Department of Public Health is going to come by and just check in. So you try your best to keep everything going as smoothly and keep everything as clean as possible and stuff like that. But then when you look at this picture of the habitat, the photo, it's like, to me, that's not what zoos strive to create in the first place. And if it's going to be a mixed species enclosure, then it should really be really large and really naturalistic and stuff like that. So, I mean, you're seeing just this weird zoopoxy rock ground. I'm sure they could just spray it down to clean it, and it looks like they did that recently from the photo and from the video. But it just doesn't look good. And I think they probably felt foolish given what had happened, and then the social media outcrying that happened afterwards, because then now here's this one enclosure. They have hundreds of enclosures and have no idea which one is going to be the focal point of a bunch of social media and stuff like that, and then this is the one. So I kind of feel bad for them, but at the same time, that's why we as keepers, and anyone, whether you're curator of a zoo collection or have a couple of redditor sliders, you should really think about the animals that you have and how you can provide best for them, and how it might look if the right or wrong person ends up seeing your enclosures for the right or wrong reason. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
Thank you, sir.
All right. You want anything more on that one, or are we moving on to the next topic, brother?
We can move on. We can keep it moving.
All right. We do apologize for no John. He's normally kind of the flow master, so to speak. So we'll try to do our best to keep a smooth show running tonight. We didn't do quite as well with that the last time. We had to do it by ourselves. So
I speak for both Steve and I when I say that we really don't know what we've got until it's gone, because both of us don't appreciate John at all. And I would tell John that to his face. So now not having him here, it's always interesting without him here. His jokes and overall stupidity at times are terrific and a big help. But we're going to do our best, and I think we're already feeling good, and we've got more topics planned, so I'm feeling prepared for once. I'm the type of fly by the seat of my pants guy. Steve is very organized, and bless his heart, he always puts up with John and I when we just go ahead and go with the flow.
Hey, don't forget, I'm a jazz musician. I like some good improv too.
Oh man, I wish I had some candy so I could eat it right now, because the joke that we had a few shows ago, I think it was episode 19, was basically take a bite of Halloween candy anytime someone says something that is like within their realm a little too much. So for me, it's basically being gluttonous. I'm 320 plus pounds. I like food. I don't like to sugarcoat things. I love to sugarcoat things. I won't sugarcoat this. That I do love food. Steve, of course, is a bit of a nerd in a good way. We're all nerds, but Steve is like king nerd. And then John can be very stupid at times, especially on this show. So that was the plan. So anyway, I was wishing I had some Halloween candy so I could make fun of Steve. But anyway, the next topic, moving on, before I get too off track here. I was the lucky recipient of a few of the new Turtle Room and Turtle Survival Alliance 2016 calendars that are absolutely terrific. And I just got them in the mail today, only a few days into January, so I'm doing well. And was so impressed. I mean, I'd seen like the digital copy and stuff like that. And this is our third year making a calendar. This is the first time that we've partnered with the TSA on it, and a certain percentage of the proceeds go to the TSA. Steve, what's the percentage, or what's the amount?
Ended up with a $3.50 per calendar,
which is great because the calendars are cheaply priced and they're beautiful. And just seeing it in person today was amazing. And my daughter is 17 months old. She's hilarious. And she just runs around the house getting into trouble. But today, the highlight of my day was when the calendars came in the mail, and she's running around with the calendar, flipping through the pages, and every one, she's pointing out all the species to me, all the different pictures, and saying, wow, wow. And was like really impressed by the calendar. I thought that was, well, for a turtle nerd, it melts my heart, but also just like to see the calendar was great. The photos are terrific, really high quality. The color's amazing. So Steve, would it be possible for us to show some of the photos and maybe talk about the species that are in the calendar this year?
Yeah, we'll just drop up the cover for a while. Everybody's seen this on social media by now, I would expect. This animal is a Cora Beretti, kept by Chris Leone, one of our husbandry specialists / Garden State tortoise, you may know him as well. Just a beautiful specimen, beautiful picture. Really ended up being a perfect cover image to display the logos on and everything. Just was a great fit.
I'm forgetting the year, but it was pretty recent. The flowerback box turtles, there's 3 species. There's Cora barretti, the Barrett's box turtle here. There's Pictorata, Cora pictorata, and then also Galbinifrons, and they separated them recently.
It was several years ago at this point.
Well, recently in terms of natural history in general.
Yeah, true. Here's a hatchling of the same species coming to you from the Turtle Survival Alliance's Turtle Survival Center, which is where the contribution to the TSA goes. So at the end of the year, we took $3.50 from every calendar we sold and donated that to the TSA on December 31st. And then during the next 2 months, January through the end of February, same thing. We're still selling them at full price, and the full donation will go to the TSA's Turtle Survival Center. And then after February, we'll cut the price, but no donation will go to the TSA either. So we really encourage you to buy them now when they're full price, not because we get more money, but because the TSA gets more money.
Yeah, and because you need to know what you're doing in early January. I mean, I can't imagine getting a calendar any later than I got mine today. How are you going to keep track of your important affairs, I'm just saying.
So here's January's picture, by the way.
Oh, yeah. That's Joe's, correct?
Yeah, that's one of Joe's.
Yeah, I figured, by process of elimination and a nice enclosure and everything. So that's an adult, or is that an adult? Is that a female or is male? Do you know? Did he say?
I don't remember.
I mean, it looks male-ish.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, but his male is sub-adult too, so
right.
Maybe the markings haven't changed a lot yet. So that's a Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtle, or Geoemyda spangleri, as many people know, are one of my favorite species, and really a great pet turtle, and a turtle that really needs to not be kept as a pet, but to be bred, and specifically males need to be produced. We're very low in males in that species.
Definitely. This is one of our favorites here at the Turtle Room, and Chris Leone, towards the end of 2015, was able to grab several more females. So we're up to, I don't remember how many females we've got now, but yeah, so Chris added 3 females. Joe's got a couple. We've got a number of young offspring that Anthony and I have managed to get over the past few years from our prolific couple. Mm-hmm. This is one of our flagship species. You've probably heard us talk about it a million times at this point. So,
but we're going to keep going. And if you have to hear us speak about Spangleri 2 million times, then that's a chance we're willing to take. So.
See, and if you had one of these calendars before Friday, when we announced this episode of the podcast, you would have been able to write Pondcast in your calendar so you wouldn't forget.
Nice. Diagonal, I think. The boxes can be kind of small sometimes. I usually use crayons, and I hold them like a toddler, so I like to write diagonal because then I can fit it in the box. Just saying.
There's February. It looks awfully familiar.
Yeah, that's the that's the title page. Oh yeah, there he is, old Sandbeard. He looks like he's been eating. I don't know what that is. He got to like the bottom of the pretzel bag or something.
Yeah, every time he climbs up into his basking area, because he refuses to use the ramp very often, he just scales up the wall and then he flops down in. And obviously, when he's wet, the sand just sticks to everything that hit the sand. So that's Bonsai, our wonderful 4-eyed turtle. You've probably heard us talk a lot about him over the past 13 months since we managed to find him at Hamburg for an absolute steal. Another one of our favorites, really.
A great species. This, and it's amazing how much variance you get in the behavior. I have a male in my care, and Steve has this male in his care, and they are night and day different than one another. The male I have is over 400 grams. This male that Steve has is around 200 grams, a little above, maybe like 220. Steve, is that right?
I thought it was about 250, but yeah, he's definitely not as big.
Okay. So, both adult males that have been in the States for a long time, and totally different behaviors, where Bonsai, this male that Steve has, is really outgoing, really, food aggressive, really fun to watch, that sort of thing. And just looking at that photo, there is no way I could ever get that photo of the male that I have. He is scared. If I come down the stairs, he doesn't even have to see me. He feels the vibrations. He's in his shell forever. I can sit there and wait as patiently as possible. Doesn't matter. I can be there all night. He will not take a peek at me. It's wild. It's wild. And he's bigger. He's supposed to be tougher, you know? I'm just saying. You know, no one's gonna beat you up, man. You're the king of the castle here.
They are highly omnivorous. Bonsai will eat, well, you name it. He ate. He really actually enjoyed some celery earlier this week. I was surprised. Most turtles won't really go after the celery because it's a little bitter, etc. He really dug the celery. He likes worms, fruits, apparently celery.
I've never heard of that before with celery. It's great.
Haven't found something he doesn't really want to eat. So
that's a good idea, really, because with the way both of them do eat a lot, and if you're looking for ways to feed them and keep them eating without them taking on too many calories, maybe a piece of celery isn't a bad idea.
Right? Yeah, well, and this guy just loves attention. I mean, as weird as it is, sometimes you put pellets in for him to eat, but since you're still standing in front of the tank, he just doesn't bother eating anything because he's too interested in whatever we're doing on the other side of the tank. So my wife just loves his personality. He's probably one of her favorite turtles ever. So yeah, four-eyed turtles, awesome. We do have a species profile on our website for these guys. It's a relatively short one compared to the Geomyda spengleri one. But we do have that up there, so check that out if you want to learn more on about Cicalia quadriochelata, the four-eyed turtle.
Yeah, and when we create those species profiles, basically what we're doing is we are using our knowledge, as limited as it is at times, from keeping the species, and then we're comparing that to every single piece of literature that we can find, and then using that to basically weight all of the information that's out there and put together the best accumulation of information that we can using that and making it available to anyone on the internet. Sometimes with a lot of these rarer species, they really they're in the pet trade. They have been here for years, since the large-scale importation around the turn of the century, almost 2 decades ago now. And there's not information. There's just not. And people will jump to buy stuff because it's rare, or maybe they just end up with something because they end up with it. But it's really difficult to track down the information. And we love that. That's what we love to do. So if we can buy all the books that have ever been written on the subject and visit every website that has anything posted, or that's any website that's hosting anything like that, sharing anything like that, on their webpage, we're going to read those 5 times each and take everything and get the information to you in the best way that we can, and hopefully help make the next person's job a little easier when they go to provide care for something or spread the good word or whatever. If that makes sense.
Before we leave Cicalia, I should put a plug out there. We would love to be able to bring in an adult female four-eyed turtle unrelated to our males, or more than one. So if you happen to know anybody who's trying to find a good home for a female four-eyed turtle, just give us a holler.
I like that. Let's just do that. Here, you guys ready? I'll tell you all the animals I want for Christmas next year, and you've got about 50 and a half weeks to fill my stocking with turtles.
If only that would work. Oh man! And here's December's picture.
I have big feet, by the way, too, so they're big stockings. So it'll take a lot of four-eyed turtles to fill my stocking. That's all I'm saying.
This is Cicalia bealii, the Beals-eyed turtle. If you look carefully, you can see there's kind of 4 eyes. You can see the kind of center dots, but there's not the brightness that the 4-eyed turtle would have on the head.
Still an awesome species. And this is a female.
Yes.
Yeah, and we found recently it's been kind of difficult to track down males of this species and to track down females of the other species in the genus. Are there three species in the genus, Steve?
Only two.
Oh, I thought
There,
there were.
there had been for some time. There was, one of those Asian hybrids that got
Yep.
named a full species. It was Cicalia pseudochelata,
Yes,
but
and
it was found. It was found to be a hybrid between Cicalia and I can't remember if it was one of the Maremis or one of the Quora, but either way, it was one of those hybrids that was found in a market and then classified until testing was later able to be done.
Understood. I wonder what book I was reading where they were talking about it, and that's exactly what it was, and that made me think, oh wow, there's three, because obviously I knew of the two, but that's interesting. See, this is why I ask you. It's nice to have a resident expert on things.
Let's see. We were at well. Here's the next one. I jumped back up to April, I think it is.
Yeah. Okay, viewers, what is it? What is it? Let us know now. Yeah, when actually I went through the calendar with my wife and I showed her every photo and I'm telling her what they are, and she was not really paying attention. She was probably texting for 3/4 of it. But when I said pancake tortoise, her eyes perked up because, I mean, look at them. She knows what a pancake tortoise is.
I love the look of the hatchlings. They're so neat. Some of them I've seen some with some really neat patterns, especially a week or two out of the egg. Just really kind of impressive.
Yeah, and here's a great example. This species is widely available. They are, if you set them up the right way, they can be a really great pet tortoise, and they're affordable enough. I mean, they're not cheap by any means, but here's a species that really is in need of help. I mean, the TSA has adopted them out in the past to their members, and it's because they're a species in need. And so I think people don't necessarily realize that. So you can make the same argument for sulcatas that they're really rare in nature too, but they've become so commercialized that we've pretty much done well by that species. But yet everybody wants sulcatas just because they're cheap and they look like cute little ping pongs. And I don't know, I guess for some reason people aren't scared to buy them early on because they think, well, I've got 10 years before this thing is huge to get my act together, or I can keep it in my basement or keep it in my backyard or whatever, and aren't really thinking about the animal's best, the welfare of the animal. And again, those pancake tortoises, they're beautiful. They have an awesome story. They're really unique. I mean, the way that their shell is formed so that they can take in air and kind of puff themselves up so that they fit into a crevice in like a rocky outcrop or whatever you want to call it. They can just sit right in there and puff up, and you'll never get them out of there. I think that sort of thing is so cool. So yeah, this is a tortoise as we know it, which is why we are talking about it, but a totally different meaning to the word tortoise or turtle or whatever. They have totally different way of getting the job done. I think that's really cool, and it's something that people don't necessarily know about or appreciate enough, in my opinion, for whatever that's worth.
So true. And it's one of those things that I know in the turtle community, in the human community, there can be a lot of differences on evolution versus creation, whatever. Regardless of which point of view you really buy into, it's one of those things that impresses you either way. It impresses you the whether it's the evolution that the tortoise managed to evolve to fill that niche, or if you come from the other side, it's still just as impressive to have the creation that it fits the exact environment it's in. So no matter which way you see the world, it's one of those animals that I think impresses people no matter what.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's next?
These were a new addition to the Turtle Rooms clan this year. And they laid not long after arriving at Chris Leone's Garden State Tortoise. This species is listed in, well, these turtles of this species are listed in the AZA Species Survival Program, and we've placed We temperature sex the offspring. 2 of the offspring will be listed, and the other 4 are essentially ours to do with as we please. I think Chris gifted one to a friend, and we're hanging on to the others for now, as I recall. Anthony,
these are the aquatic or coquelin
Quaquilin.
box turtles. So really rare species of aquatic box turtle, and I put them right there with the Pacific pond turtle, Actinemes marmorata, from obviously the western United States. People look at them and they consider them a very drab species. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. I really do. I had some photos. I wish I had them up right now so that I could share them, of Chris's adults. And if you look at those babies in that photo, oh my goodness, they are absolutely breathtaking. They really are. Like nothing you've ever seen. Like if you were to make a Frankenstein monster of like baby turtle parts, it's like the best. The carapace looks like maybe like a northern red belly, which is known for having like really beautiful markings, and then the eyes are like diamondback terrapins, like that. That is a heck of a species right there, and really a tremendous achievement by Chris to have bred them, and we're just really proud of him and proud of our guys who were involved in the project. So it's just an exciting one. So to me, and I know Steve would agree, that photo means a lot more than just the animals in the photo or what have you. There's a story behind it that like in 2025, I'll be able to look back at the 2016 calendar and see that photo and say, oh man, I remember that. I remember when that photo was taken. He took photos with the babies next to the adults to kind of celebrate the whole situation and everything within like the first week of them being hatched, and I'll always be able to remember that. So to me, that photo is really special, and I didn't even do it, but you know, I live vicariously through him a lot. So
yeah, we all tend to do that.
Yeah, can't help it. I mean, the guy's got some really cool stuff going on.
Ain't that the truth? Here's our little herd.
Yeah, we hatched 6 of them this year. This was, for a while, we only had 4 that had hatched. And then a while later, we hatched 2 more. And by that time, I had already moved to another location. So the most I had at any time this year was 4, but we hatched 6 this year. So these are the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles again. And as Steve said about the aquatic box turtles, these are also listed on the AZA species survival program and species survival plan and stud book program as well.
Right. The 4 of them that we hatched were from our adult pair that are in the SSP. The other 2, we have another friend who brings a couple of his females for a visit to our male, and that was where the other 2 offspring had come from. So Anthony, while we're talking about Geomyda spengleri, Anthony has written a fairly detailed species profile for these guys on our website, and even more detailed coming out hopefully sometime here in 2016, I think, is the plan. We're still putting some pieces together, but thanks to Russ Gurley and Living Art Publishing, Anthony will be publishing a Geomyda book this year. Really proud of him for this first book effort. It will cover mainly Geomyda spengleri and Geomyda japonica, with a shout out to
that's a good way of putting it.
Vijayacalis sylvatica.
Yeah, I would have pronounced that differently. Vijayacalis.
Yeah, I can't remember if there's actually a vowel between the Y and the C. It may be just Vijayacalis or something. I can't remember. I'd have to look at it again. It's
pretty good, though. I whenever I hear you say it, I want to change the way I talk.
But well, yeah, the tough part to remember with some of these genuses and species is they've got that common name thrown in there. So the part of that belongs to somebody's name is supposed to be pronounced like their name, not like you'd pronounce it if it were Latin. So you kind of have to, throw in in this case, Indian name, and then switch to Latin right away. So it can be a bit of a tongue twister since you're practically switching languages in the middle of the word.
I can barely speak English, let's be honest. I'm just saying, I'm not a master of the language over here. You know what I mean?
Truth. I don't think any of us are, but
but you're absolutely right, though. Yeah, switching from that's the Indian surname to Latin in the same way.
Exactly.
That's a skill that I have not mastered. That's for sure. It never will.
And that's why people struggle with Cora Joey. For the same reason.
I thought that was great actually, because when I was at, and I know it was said at the TSA conference that you were at, and then it was said at the TTPG conference in Arizona that I was at, and with that species with Cora Joey, and that's the one that starts with the Z for anyone out there who is keeping score at home. It looks like Zawai or Zoai, but it's Joey, and it's not Joey or that's the one that people, if they get the J sound right, but it's actually Joey, and it's spelled with a Z, not a J. But really confusing, but so helpful. I wish there was 340 turtle specialists that could stand up for each one of their species that they specialize in, and just read the name for me so that I can not butcher names anymore.
While we're talking scientific names, let's bust up another one. This is a little fun thing for all you turtle lovers out here. What we tend to call the Rhode Island snakeneck. It turns out that it's not really supposed to be spelled R-O-T-I. It's supposed to be spelled R-O-T-E, and thus it would be pronounced rote, not roti. So apparently the Indonesians think it's absolutely weird that we can't get this one right, since we tend to spell and pronounce all the rest of their islands right. We get this one wrong, so they think that's kind of weird. This comes to you from Chris Hagen, actually. He's the one who was telling me about this. He's Turtle Survival Alliance's Director of Animal Management. So when you see what you currently call the Rhode Island snakeneck, it's actually the Rote Island snakeneck.
But what is the I replacing the E? Just them trying to Latinize it?
No, I don't think so. I think it's because at some point somebody saw R-O-T-E and said roti, and then people realized normally when there's an E, there's an I, and so I think it just kind of went that way. But who knows? We've been doing it wrong for a very, very, very long time. So apparently every time Chris has somebody type or say Rhodey, he corrects it, and so he's on a what's the word on a mission? Crusade. He's on a crusade to spell and pronounce that correctly, and I told him that I would join his crusade.
Well, congratulations to both of you. I'm not on that crusade, just so everyone else knows. Again, for those who are keeping track at home, I'm not on that crusade.
I'm not qualified. The Rote Island snakeneck.
I'm not qualified. Yeah, no problem. But that's very interesting. Did he mention? So if somebody spells it with an I, is that crusade part of that too, or just the pronunciation?
Both, because it should be spelled with an E. The reason the pronunciation is Rhodey is because people are spelling it with the I.
I mixed it up. I'm sorry. So I just confused everyone, including myself. So if they spell it with the I, which is the way it's always spelled, then everyone else then he would fix it for everybody.
Right.
Okay. I'll join that crusade then. That's easy enough. All right. Now that I know.
Yeah, we just need to switch. We just need to switch it from roti with an I to rote with an E on the end, and we're good to go.
Sounds good. It's easy enough. I can do that.
All right, here's the next one. This one is a unique animal. Most of you won't know what it is.
Well, I know what it is.
I
know what it is.
When people see it, we say, hey, they look at it and they call it about 2 or 3 other different things. And granted, let's be honest, it's a Quora hatching out of an egg, and some of their heads look a lot similar, especially when they're this size. So it's okay if you don't recognize that it is Quora orocapitata at first glance.
Steve, did you ever watch Beavis and Butthead?
Not very often, no.
All right, so for anyone out there who's around my age or whatever and has watched Beavis and Butthead before, when Beavis puts his shirt over his head and goes like this, but whatever, it's a silly thing, and I'm not going to imitate it. But when I hear the species name of this turtle or read it or whatever, it makes me think of Beavis sometimes. I just felt like I needed to come clean on that. I need everyone to hear me say that so that we can just clear the air, and now everyone knows. Arocapitata.
So
Like
this picture comes to you again from the Turtle Survival Alliance's Turtle Survival Center, just like the hatchling Cora Beretti did earlier.
Arocapitata. Like that. If here's the deal, if one person watches this and knows what I'm talking about, it's all worth it.
I hope somebody did. I hope somebody.
If we were good people, we would say if somebody learned something from this podcast, then we would have done something right. But if somebody got the Beavis and Butthead reference specifically, then I would have known that this was all worth it. So feel free to email me afterwards, Anthony at the Turtle Room, and let me know that you got my reference, and I will be a happy camper. That would be terrific. What's next, man? Well, do you know anything about Ari Capitata?
I know very little about Cora Arocapitata. If we would have had Steve Rosen or Ben Forrest here, I bet we could have learned a whole lot about Cora Arocapitata.
Well, I think it's another one of those species that I'm not sure which came first, the chicken or the egg, but a lot of species are only known because of the food markets and live animal markets and stuff like that. And the sad truth is that so many of the Asian species, especially the Asian box turtles of the genus Cora, 92% of that genus is at risk of extinction. That's a lot. So
and really the other 8% probably isn't far behind.
Yeah, and rapidly approaching that, of course, because everything is it's like a vacuum, basically, that's just sucking up all the world's turtles, and it's obviously expanding outward and taking more and more animals in, and that affects species in a different way depending on what their range is or how easy they are to catch, or even human-made borders depending on what country they're in and whatever the regulations are, or how easy it is to poach them and smuggle them from one country to another, stuff like that. So I've read a little bit about Arocapitata, and I mean, the story isn't that unfamiliar from some of the other species. Basically, just really rare and tough to kind of nail down the genetics at first and things like that because of hybridization, and then also not knowing where certain animals that ended up in the food trade originally came from and things like that. So just basically your textbook Cora species. So sad, but shows how important the work of the TSA is, and the work that we're trying to do. Not to toot our own horn or anything, but it's an important thing. What's next, Maestro?
I was hoping you were reading your little chat box there.
Oh! Oh, I got it. So the species that we have next is, because now I looked at my chat box, I'm embarrassed. This is really some intense technology that we're using here, where we can actually chat each other and see each other at the same time. It's like, how do they do it?
Anthony forgets about one of them sometimes.
Obviously. So the next species is a really great one that I've been able to go out in the field with a citizen scientist to track via radio transmitter, which is really cool. So you attach a transmitter to the carapace of the turtle shell towards the posterior end, towards the back end. The antenna kind of comes off pointing back, so they don't really get caught on shrubs or anything, and actually do quite well with them. But they stay on for a while, and you basically, when you go out in the field, you use this big antenna and use it to see what their location is and get right up next to the turtle, which is amazing because in the spring, If you're lucky, you might see them. In the summer, you will not see them. But the species is not kept by many of the turtle room guys. Actually, only one of us to protect it throughout their range. So that means Steve and I can't keep them. But for the people who do and who live in areas where they can, it's definitely a fan favorite. So do you have the photo? Drum roll.
And here it comes.
Oh, yeah.
Glyptomus insculpta, the North American wood turtle, famed in song and story. Sometimes it's known as one of the big three. Wood turtles, spotted turtles, and bog turtles. The trifecta is sometimes used. This is one of the members. Just a beautiful specimen. Chris Leone has worked with the New Jersey wildlife folks to make sure his animals are in good standing with them, and they've even have given him some animals that they've confiscated from other folks that they didn't want to release back into the wild to care for as well. The habitat he's got built for these two is absolutely awesome. You've posted video of that, right, Anthony?
Of me in the wild?
You in the wild and Chris's habitat of these at Garden State.
I don't know that I've posted of his habitat, actually. I posted of me in the wild, but not of his habitat.
Well, let's put that up on the list. You've got great footage of it, and it's an awesome habitat.
I don't know if I got great footage.
You didn't?
I think that's the issue. I think, first of all, you get to Chris Leone's place in New Jersey, it's like heaven on earth, okay? Especially for a nerd like me. You walk up, there's, a turkey the size of my car gobbling, roosters crowing. It's awesome. And then you get up, and obviously there's the colonians everywhere, turtles and tortoises. And you try so hard to take in as much as you can. Breathe it all in, try to remember how he builds the enclosures and stuff like that, because it's just amazing. And for someone who lives up north, there's no better place to go than his place. Not that he's inviting everyone, but I'm just saying it's something you appreciate. Even if you can look at the photos of his enclosures in the reptiles magazines, that you might get, at Petco or PetSmart or whatever. Those photos are priceless, because not only are you seeing how someone sets them up, but you're seeing how someone sets up his animals in the Northeast. It's ridiculous. You can't, it's amazing how successful he is and how beautiful and elaborate those enclosures are up here in the, frozen tundra that we live in, to steal a term from the 1960s NFL films broadcast.
Yeah, of course we've had a relatively mild winter so far.
Don't say it.
We had a nice cold snap today. Didn't break freezing here. Lows tonight expected to be in the teens. I actually love this. I love a good winter. I'm unusual probably for turtle and tortoise keepers in that regard, but I love all 4 seasons, so I wouldn't want to move from my nice little chunk of Pennsylvania at all.
You
love
suck.
it here.
You suck. When you have a friend, misery loves company, and I'd love to just be able to complain to you and have you be like, yeah, man, you know what? I feel your pain. Just validate me once. Validate me once. The cold stinks. Just say it.
Sometimes. I agree.
Oh, does everyone see what I'm dealing with here? Does everyone see what I'm dealing with? This is one of my best friends in the entire world right here. And this is what I'm dealing with. Validate my feelings, I have to talk to my therapist about it 3 times a week.
I love to walk out and get that brisk winter air.
Oh, I'm just kidding.
Calm and peace of a good snowstorm.
Here's the deal. I'm not making fun of anyone who's in therapy, okay? Because I'm a social worker, and some of my best friends are therapists, and it's wonderful. If you've never been to therapy, go. It's terrific. But I was just kidding about me going to therapy. I'm just saying. We don't get to talk about ourselves enough. You know what I mean?
No, we don't. We don't.
That's it, Just saying. I'm just saying.
Oh, next picture.
Talk about your interests, right? Sorry, continue. Next picture.
Cardinals baseball, Tar Heel basketball, music, math. Turtles come first, though.
See, but didn't that feel good just to get that out? Like, here I am. This is what I care about. You're talking to me. I'm not listening to you because I want to tell you about me.
Although, if you want to learn more about us, we've tried to include some of these cool little nuggets in our bios on our website.
Don't flatter yourself. Don't flatter yourself. Neither of us have cool nuggets. Neither of us. There are no cool nuggets here.
Mildly interesting nuggets. Is that better?
It's all right. It is what it is. It's subjective.
Here's the next one. This is actually a picture taken by my dear friend Anthony.
Oh, I know those jerks. So this is the same genus as the Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles. These are the Ryukyu black-breasted leaf turtles, or sometimes referred to as the Okinawa black-breasted leaf turtles. Their small range is restricted to the Ryukyu Islands off the coast of Japan. They are a tremendous species. I've spoken about them before. My favorite author, who is no longer with us, wrote an article about 12 years ago that changed my life, and it was about that species. So for me, that species means a ton to me. I think they represent a lot about our hobby. They represent a lot about conservation and culture, and there's just so many layers there. And when I speak with other enthusiasts who are into that species, I'm always surprised to see that there's so much to them, that there's always something you can learn, but then there's always something that you could teach to others if you keep researching and stuff like that, because there's not a lot of information published, but there's a lot of information there on them, if that makes any sense. Some of the best information I've gotten that species is on on talk forums and stuff like that, and then personal communication too, because people keep them really quiet because of the way they originally got here. And we had a talk on one of the past podcasts. It was probably episode 10 or something like that, about when does an animal actually become Americanized, right? So if you look at, and I'm sorry to bring it up again, but just a quick summary overview or whatever. If you look at the bearded dragon, there are strict. It has been strictly protected in Australia. Australian animals really have been strictly protected for a really long time, and they have been since the 1960s. Bearded dragons didn't really get here until after that. I believe Hank Mole was the person who brought them over. Now,
Hank Molt? You mean
Hank Mole?
famed and
sorry. Yes.
The infamous
Hank Mole. Yes. I'm sorry. I don't know why Mole came out. Mole. Yeah. So he was the first to bring them over. So they got here illegally. It says so in books. So I didn't make that up. And but now, I mean, you'd never get in trouble or be frowned upon or anything for having a bearded dragon. It's 100% Americanized. They're as much American citizen as I am. And the Japonica, that species that you showed, is another story just like that, where they've been protected since June 26, 1975, I think 75, which is actually John's birthday. I'll never forget that date because of that. So what was that reaction? Did you forget?
That was episode 6 when we were still audio only. We covered that.
See that? Thank you for looking that up. That's so cool.
Wow.
But yeah, but this is an important one to me. But anyway, so they've been protected there since 1975, and they came over. Some of them came over illegally. There was paperwork, legal paperwork for some that were captive bred in Hong Kong, which wasn't really happening. 99% sure of that. It was just a convenient midway point for ones that were coming over here, and but all of mine are captive bred. So are they Americanized? I don't know. Could I get in trouble for having them? I don't really know. I don't think so. I hope not. Who knows? So just an interesting conversation there, and I don't know, just one that I think is worth having, and one that I think if you understand a lot of the nuances, then you really have a good understanding of reptile keeping in general and kind of what we need to do, and what it really means to be like keeping animals for conservation, and then how we can kind of learn a little more so we could avoid being full of crap, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Anthony touched on it a good bit in episode 6. So if you, when he and John were recording just via audio, so if you want to hear more about that, I'd check out our old episode 6. Yeah, especially with this particular species, the Geomyda japonica. There's a whole can of worms there, really, because it's a species that there aren't really enough of in the United States, as far as founder animals to really develop much of an assurance program anyway. And it's highly unlikely Japan would actually be willing to take anything back and stick them back in the wild.
Never.
It's pretty much a never. And so to say you're keeping them for conservation, it can be a limited thing as well, because there's really not a whole lot that can really be done for conservation. The only thing that can really be happen is, at this point, if they go extinct in the wild, at least there's a bunch that are cared for in captivity. But conservation really needs to happen in the wild with this species, since there's no chance in any of our animals from the U.S., offspring from these, ever ending up back in Japan in the wild.
Right.
And again, we've touched on, I think there is at least one other episode where we've touched on that kind of topic, but I know there's a lot of it back there in episode 6. I can't believe it's that long. That's just, wow. That was 2 years ago, right?
This is what I'm saying. We got to revisit it, man.
I should have looked at the date.
Don't tell anyone that, because they're going to do the math and say these jokers don't do a podcast every month. Well, we do.
Right. We've tried to get a whole lot better at it.
This is a new us, and you're going to get a podcast every month, whether you like it or not. And that's it. You don't have to watch, but we're going to be there broadcasting live from our basements or our cat room in Steve's.
This is the office / guest room / cat headquarters
/ cat room.
Right. They're hanging out with me because Lisa's not here, and they also part of the thing is we were off for the last 11 days consecutive, so they get kind of used to the company. Apparently, Calvin was howling at the door after I left this morning.
Howling. It's terrific. Hi, Calvin.
But yeah, he's actually sitting back here now too. So. But they enjoy company, so that's why they're here.
Terrific.
Here's our last picture from our last full month picture from the calendar. This is Minoria impressa from Ben Forrest, one of our absolutely talented conservation husbandry specialists. The man just has a gift for being able to care for turtles and tortoises that need intensive caring.
Those of you who know me know my extensive list of man crushes. Ben is definitely up there. Definitely up there. When the guy talks, you listen. That's what's important. And those are the people I'm drawn to. So a wealth of knowledge, and really interested to see. He's got some really cool stuff going on. So I'm really interested to see what type of cool projects he's working on soon and stuff like that. You don't necessarily see him as active on social media and stuff like that, but he's doing some really good stuff behind the scenes, and he's just a microcosm really of how this hobby or whatever arena, whatever you want to call it is that there's a lot of really talented people out there who you don't necessarily hear from a lot. And like I said, when you do, you better listen and take notes, because there's some knowledge out there we can all benefit from learning. So,
yeah, that's actually one of the things that drew Ben to us a little bit, is he wanted to be able to get plugged in more and really contribute more to conservation, but kind of keep behind the scenes at the same time.
Right.
So it ended up being a great match. He's been with us for several years now, and great teammate, great person. Good dude.
Absolutely. But he's one of my man crushes, not yours. He can't be on both lists. Yeah. We do like a draft where we get to pick, because it doesn't make sense. If we both have him on our man crush list, then it takes away from like the importance, you know what I mean? It's almost like seventh grade girls. Like, they might have they can't all have a crush on the same boy, because then they're going to fight. It's like, no, then, because if Ben likes me, if we both have him on our list and then he ends up liking me, then you're going to be mad at me and vice versa. So he's just on my list.
We're not girls.
Sometimes we like to act like that, like petty. Sometimes you've acted like that before. That's all I'm saying.
What?
Sorry.
I
He's
think
never
I
acted like
recall a moment at Hamburg, which I'm not going to go into more detail now.
No, we need to. Have I ever mentioned that on the podcast?
I think you did the first episode after it had occurred.
Okay. All right.
I don't remember, though.
Now I have to tell the story. Number one, because I don't remember either, and I very well may have mentioned it, but it was.
Should we go through the archives and come back to that story next month?
No. We're going to say it right now because we can't leave people hanging. They won't know what we're talking about, and then it'd be a whole wasted moment that wasn't that funny. And then, what would it be for? You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah. So when I made the Beavis and Butthead reference earlier, at least they, there was a chance they could email in and say, yes, Anthony, I got your Beavis and Butthead reference. And then that would have made the podcast for me. So on this one, there was no opening for that you know what I mean? So anyway, here's the story. We're at Hamburg Reptile Show, Hamburg, Pennsylvania. It's the Sunshine State, gorgeous. And I'm standing at, so Steve is vending with our friend Mike from the Turtle Station, and then our other friend Josh from Turtle Towns. Everyone's got to have Turtle something on their business card.
This was before Chris Leone had a table at Hamburg.
Yeah, so for all you hamburgers out there. So this guy walks up to the table and starts asking about Russian tortoises. And I look at him, and it's Eric Good. Now, Eric Good runs the Turtle Conservancy. Now, for me, that's a celebrity. Now, my wife loves Kardashians, Vanderpump Rules, housewives of wherever. It doesn't matter if they're housewives. My wife loves them. So I make fun of her all the time. I don't take interest in anything. She thinks that there's going to be a diamond in the rough reality show that we could both watch together. It's never going to happen. So I'm there with her. And then up walks Eric Good from the Turtle Conservancy. He's like a big deal, you know what I mean? To me, anyway. So I go up to him like, oh my gosh, I just want to say I'm such a fan of your work, And he looked at me like I had 10 heads. And it was really awkward. And then I said, what's your name? Because he's acting like I had the wrong person. And he said, my name's Eric. I said, yes, exactly. And it was 100% him. I was not mistaken at all. This is not a celebrity.
It was definitely him. He was acting like nobody, like he was purposely trying to keep a low profile, because I know one thing that Turtle Conservancy likes to do is have representatives at shows to kind of keep a watchful eye on the trade market.
It makes sense.
Not just for scooping up animals, just so they're aware who's doing what, and they can kind of, in case people are being a little shady.
Yeah. Well, I see. I've seen they've had like great articles and stuff in their magazine, which is called The Tortoise, and that will like detail with photos like the wildlife market or reptile show in Jakarta or something, like some weird faraway land that is so alien to us noobs. And it's like really awesome to see, because you see the differences and stuff like that. And, photos of plowshare tortoises and stuff like that, just like absolutely blow your mind. So to see them at Hamburg, which is basically like our backyard, definitely Steve's backyard, is like was a really cool thing to me, and I absolutely embarrassed myself, like the most I ever have in my life. And my wife still reminds me about it and makes fun of me for it. So if any of you guys get made fun of your wives, just know you're not alone, because this guy, I invented being made fun of by your wife.
Oh man. All right. We've only got a few minutes left. I'm just going to quick show you a couple other. We have a couple smaller photos in the calendar as well. Here you can see a Quero flavomarginata and a Moremis anamensis. These are both species that we're keeping in coordination with the Turtle Survival Alliance. They're both part of Turtle Survival Alliance programs. This little guy, I'm not sure who he's with right now, but he's definitely with one of the Turtle Room folks, even though this photo was taken at the Turtle Survival Center before he came to us. And then we've also got a group of 4 small pictures on the inside cover. One of Chris's beautiful radiateds, a Quora pictorata from the Turtle Survival Clement, and then Clemmies gutata from our our coder, our education developer, Kevin, and this Florida chicken turtle from Andrew.
Awesome. You really did a good job. And I know it was a group effort to decide, but you really did a good job deciding what photos and what species would represent us this year in the calendar. It's gorgeous. I can't wait. I'm hanging mine up in my office tomorrow at work. I can't wait.
My wife's got one hanging up in her office at work, and she's not even like a turtle person. While we're thinking about while we're still on the calendar, I want to give a shout out to those of you that actually hopped on our website and purchased a calendar within this past hour. Awesome. We thank you very much.
That's really cool.
Really appreciate that. Those of you that still want to do that, we greatly appreciate it. The Turtle Survival Alliance would appreciate it, as they get $3.50 from every calendar we sell from now through the end of February. They got $3.50 from everyone we've sold so far as well. So that continues through the end of February. So get your calendar now so you get to use it for January. Also, another awesome announcement to make. We've just gotten word that the Snake Bites TV episode that was filmed at Garden State Tortoise at Chris's place, the first all-Colonian episode of Snake Bites TV is set to go for apparently Wednesday morning. So you don't even have to wait 48 hours till you get to see this. All right. You will get a up-close and personal look of all sorts of cool stuff at Chris Leone's facility. Remember, he's a great partner of ours. His wife is a great partner of ours. Andrew Hermes from Arizona Tortoise Compound was in town for that event as well, another partner of ours. These guys are on our staff, great folks. And so you'll see Garden State Tortoise gear. You'll see Arizona Tortoise Compound gear. You'll see some Turtle Room gear while you're watching that. There's some cool announcements that I think are going to come out during that episode. So I'm not entirely sure. But we're really excited for this, and we're just really pumped to see what that comes out like on Wednesday morning. So we hope you join us in excitement for that. Snake Bites TV from the Turtle Room in Garden State Tortoise, Chris Leone's home. And we've lost Anthony for some reason.
Oh,
there, I hear you again now. You're very quiet.
Maybe you just lost me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You're getting better.
All right. Well, I can't hear you now. Maybe we should end it. Go ahead, bring us home.
All right. Since we're having some audio issues, I'm going to end this now. If you can hear me, we're signing off for Anthony Pierleone. I'm Steve Enders, and we'll catch you hopefully in a month on February the 1st. Have a great night.